Sajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitantam Sajivam Sadaitam Savadotam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpade Gopesha Gopikaganta Radha Kanta Namastute Jaitam Sarato Pangor Mama Manavate Rigati Mat Sarvasya Parambojo Radha Marana Mohana Dibavindana Galpadamado Sivaratna Garasammasanasto Srimad Radha Shila Govinda Devo Pristhali Vishevam Smarami Shimamra Sara Sarambevam Sevadadada Stita Kasan Vinosanai Gopir Gopinata Sistona Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavane Shari Vrishabhano Sude Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Govinda Nandini Radha Govinda Mohini Govinda Sarvasa Sarva Kanta Shilomani Devi Krishna Maya Prokta Radhika Pada Devataha Sarva Lakshmi Naya Kanta Samani Para Bhajami Radham Maravendra Netram Smarami Radham Marudasmadasyam Vadami Radham Karunabharabdram Tato Mamanastina Kapi Tavai Vasmi Najivami Tavaya Itti Vigyara Devitam Nayamam Charantikam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Reading from Jaiva Dharma, second chapter. The Nitya Dharma of the Jiva is pure and eternal. So, Sannyasi Thakur, Mayavadi, who was converted to Vaishnavism, so he was fully convinced of the wonderful instructions which Babaji Mahashaya was giving. So he's explaining that there's only one Dharma, that is Nitya Dharma. And the other dharmas are temporary, which are pertaining to this world. So he's explaining further. Some time ago in Sri Brajadam, I submitted a question at the lotus feet of Sriman, Mahaprabhu's confidential associate, Sri Sanatan Goswami. Babaji Maharaj asked Sanatan Goswami. I asked him whether the word Ishka in the Islamic religious tradition means unadulterated love or something else. Sanatan Goswami was a learned scholar of all the Shastras, and his erudition in the Arabic and Farsi languages in particular knew no bounds. Srila Rupa Goswami, Srila Jiva Goswami and other exalted spiritual preceptors were present in that assembly. Sri Sanatan Goswami kindly answered my question as follows. Yes, the word ishqa means love. Adherents of Islam do use the word ishqa in relation to the worship of Ishwar, but the word generally means love in the ordinary worldly sense. Islamic religious teachers have not been able to understand the true conception of the pure spiritual entity or chid or Shuddha Chid Vastu. So that we can see nowadays also the Islamic teachers or even the Christian teachers, they don't have the proper understanding, the perfect understanding. They have some vague idea of the absolute truth, of the living entities. So this is evident from the poetical account of the devoted lovers Laila and Majnun, and from the literary description of Ishqa by the great poet Hafiz. They have referred to Ishqa either as physical love pertaining to the gross body or as emotional love in relation to the subtle body. Thus they cannot have had any experience of unadulterated divine love of prem towards Bhagavan. So prem towards the Lord is beyond the physical and the subtle, or the gross and the subtle body of the jiva. Of course, in a conditioned state we use the gross body, we use the subtle body in order to approach the Lord, who agrees to come in a form of the deity to accept our service. But ultimately we have to raise to the transcendental plane, and then we can truly approach the Supreme Lord, who is always completely transcendental. And then there's a loving exchange, and that is pure love. I have never seen this type of prem described in any religious texts of the Muslim teachers. I have only seen it in the Vaishnav Shastras. So not only the Muslim teachers or the Christian teachers, any form of religion in this world is not complete. It is Naimittika Dharma. But only the Vaishnav Dharma and Nitya Dharma, where Krishna, the personal form of the Lord, from the spiritual world, either Krishna, Narayan or Ram, is explained, and then accordingly there is the reciprocation. That is Sanatan Dharma, Nitya Dharma, Jaiva Dharma, Vaishnav Dharma. The same is true of the Muslim word Ruh, which means soul or spirit. It does not seem that Muslim teachers have used the word Ruh to mean the Shuddha Jiv, the liberated soul. Rather, they have used the word Ruh in the sense of Bada Jiva, the soul bound by matter. So the embodied being. With Dehatma Buddhi still, so having some understanding but not realized, just some theoretical understanding but still bound in this material world. Dehatma Buddhi. I have not seen unadulterated love for Krishna taught in any other religion, whereas descriptions of Krishna Prem are common throughout the teachings of Vaishnav Dharma. In the second slok of Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna Prem has been lucidly described. In the statement, Projita Kaitava Projita Kaitava Dharma. So that is the second verse of the first canto, first chapter. This Srimad Bhagavatam propounds the highest truth from which all pretentious religiosity has been rejected. So what is the first line of that verse? I can't remember. But so that is part of the first line. Projita Kaitava Dharma. Where's the book? Were you looking up something?
No, I'm reading Ruish.
Acha, Ruishka. What is the first line? First line. Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, second verse. Dharma Projita. I think it starts with Dharma. Let me
Second
just.
one is Vedyam Vastavam.
Yeah. Jividam. Nirmacharanam Satam. So, you got it?
Canto first chapter?
First canto, first chapter, second verse. Yes. Yes, see? I remembered. But here it started, Projitakai for the Dharma. Dharma Projitakai tava atra paramane matsaranam satam. Vedyam vastavam atra vastu shivadam tapotrayon mulanam. Shrimad Bhagavate Mahamuni kriti kim vapare ishvaraha sadyoridi avarudyati atra kritivi sushravistakshanat. So that is there, Dharma. So the Srimad Bhagavatam, Puranam, Amalam. Srimad Bhagavatam is the spotless Purana. And completely rejecting Kaitava Dharma, so cheating religion. Here actually Kaitava, so that refers to those who are engaged in some pious activity, which may be considered as Dharma, but it is Naimitika Dharma, not Nitya Dharma. So therefore, Nitya Dharma, Sanatana Dharma, so that is propounded in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Another Dharma that is rejected, Projita. So Projita means completely rejecting, Kaitava. So that refers to Naimitika Dharma, which is mostly then based on also then a sense purification. So here also Vastav and Dharma is mentioned. Vedyam Vastavam Atra Vastu Shivadam. So factual, actual substance. So that is this Nitya Dharma, that is actual substance. Vastav Dharma, Vastav Vastu. Shivadam, it is all auspicious. The Srimad Bhagavatam propounds the highest truth from which all pretentious religiosity has been rejected. Nonetheless, I have full faith that Sri Krishna Chaitanya was the first to give full instructions on the religion of unalloyed Krishna Prem. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is actually the only incarnation of the Lord who is giving Krishna Prem, who is giving Braj Prem. Krishna himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so he's performing his wonderful pastimes in Braj, childhood pastimes and then pastimes in Kishoravasta, which are not different from the eternal pastimes. And so he's performing his wonderful pastimes. And that is, of course, ultimately everything is for enjoyment, for his enjoyment. And he's giving a chance for the fortunate souls who have been worshipping him to enter into his pastimes in Braj. and attracting those who have performed devotional service many times for lifetimes, and then they have the opportunity to join the pastimes in Braj. And afterwards, so in Braj is not really speaking about Braj Bhakti. He's simply performing his pastimes with his associates. And after he goes to Mathura and Dwarka, he speaks the Bhagavad Gita and about devotional service, about the Supreme Lord, but it doesn't really speak about Braj, which is the highest form of love of Godhead in Braj. Even Uddhav Gita is there, and the 11th canto, Krishna speaking to Uddhav before he left this world, being approached by Uddhav. Or even in Mathura, so he sent Uddhav to Braj to show him that the love of the Brijabasis are the highest. So in this way, so indirectly, so he's hinting at the pastimes of Braj being the highest, but he's not directly himself then showing how we can attain that love. Even when he speaks to Uddhav or others, so the hint is there that the Brijabasis are the greatest of all the devotees, of his associates. But then only when he comes in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is no different from Krishna, but in the mood and the lust of Srimati Radharani. Then he speaks about Braj Bhakti. Then he himself, although the Lord, Supreme Lord, but he's coming as a devotee, and he's showing how to chant the holy names and showing the sentiments of the gopis actually. And then through the conversations with Ramananda Roy and Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, through them he's giving pure devotional service, Braj Bhakti, and especially Anud Ujjala Ras, the Gopi Bhav. So therefore he's explaining here that I have full faith that Sri Krishna Chaitanya was the first to give full instructions on the religion of unalloyed Krishna Prem. If you have faith in my words, you may accept this conclusion. So Sanatan Goswami speaking to Prem Das Babaji Mahashai. Having heard these instructions, I offered prostrated obeisances to Sanatan Goswami again and again. When Sannyasi Thakur heard this explanation from Babaji Mahashai, he immediately offered Dandavat Pranam to him. Paramahamsa Babaji then said, O best of the Bhaktas, I will now answer your second question. Please listen attentively. The word creation and formation, when applied to the jivas, are used in a material context. The speech of this world functions by drawing from the experience of material phenomena. The time that we experience is divided into three phases: of, past, present and future. This is material time, Jariya Kal, which is connected with the material energy Maya. In the spiritual domain there is spiritual time, Chit Kal, which eternally exists in the present, with no divisions of past and future. The jivas and Krishna exist in that spiritual time. So the jiva is eternal and ever existing. Of course, for the conditioned soul in this material world, so it is difficult to understand the eternal nature of the Lord or even of the Jiva of themselves. So only if one becomes free from the modes of material nature, then one can appreciate, and then one can realize the eternal nature of the Lord and oneself. The functions of creation, formation and falling take place under the influence of material time, and they are used to describe the Jiva after he is bound in this material world. However, even though the Jiva is infinitesimal, he is an eternal spiritual entity, and his fundamental constitutional existed before he entered this material world. Clear, right? That's clear? Something clear? Okay. Okay, chant Hare Krishna, then it becomes clear. Since past and future do not exist in the spiritual world, whatever occurs within that spiritual time frame is eternally present. Therefore, in reality, the Jiva and his constitutional function are both ever present and eternal. Jivera Sukpa Hoy Krishnera Nitadas. So, but still the distinction is there. That Nityasiddha there, they have always been engaged in the service. And the Nittaba, that's there since they're also eternal sons of Krishna, but they're conditioned since time immemorial. Nittabada, Anadibada, spiritually conditioned. I've explained all this to you in words, but you can only understand their true meaning to the extent that you have realized and experienced the unalloyed spiritual realm. I've just given you a glimpse. You should try to realize the meaning of what I have said through Chit Samadhi, spiritual meditation. So if one is fully absorbed in devotional activities and transcends the modes of material nature, then it is quite clear. But if one is conditioned, it is a little difficult to understand. You will not be able to understand these topics through mundane logic or by debate. So with mundane intelligence, we cannot understand the spiritual realm. The more you can free your faculty of experience from material bondage, the more you will be able to experience the spiritual domain. First, you should cultivate the realization of your pure spiritual identity and practice chanting Sri Krishna Nam purely. Then your spiritual function known as Jaiva Dharma will be clearly revealed. So we should try to be always in that position of Sambandha Gyan, so that I'm spiritual and I'm completely different from the gross and subtle body. And Krishna is the Supreme Lord, performing his pastimes in the spiritual realm. And so I have to become free from this material existence. So with Sambandha Gyan, then we should chant the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The more we chant and the more pure one becomes, the better then it will be understood. Spiritual realization and experience cannot be fully purified by the eightfold yoga system known as Ashtanga Yoga or Brahma Gyan by cultivating knowledge of the all-pervading, featureless Brahma. The Jiva can only manifest his Nitya Siddha Dharma or eternal spiritual function by constantly cultivating activities directly meant for Krishna's pleasure. So by engaging in the angas of devotional service, as mentioned by our acharyas, specifically also Rupa Goswami, Chosat Ang, 64 limbs of devotional service. First one, Guru Padashray, and then explaining what to do, what not to do. Navivida Bhakti and the 5 most important angas of devotional service, which are 5 most important angas.
Nam Sankirtan, Sadhu Sang, Bhagavad Shravan, Matravas,
Priti Purvak Murti Seva. So by engaging in this Pancha Mahatapurna Ang, the 5 most important limbs of devotional service, and then even there, most important is Nam Kirtan. So by engaging in this Mukhya Anga, the main limbs of devotional service, then we can advance steadily, slowly but surely. So and then we can enter the realm of Surup Siddha Bhakti, and so what, following the rules and regulations, but then trying to come to the spontaneous platform. Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti, then we can, by chanting with faith and determination the holy names, by chanting with taste Nam Ruchi, so then we can advance and more. And then when we chant Shuddhanam, then the pure name, then everything becomes crystal clear. Then Krishna Sarup is revealed and our Sarup is revealed. We should constantly practice chanting Harinam with great enthusiasm. Utsa Nishchay Daryat Tattakama Pavatanat. Such practice is true spiritual culture. So we should always be enthusiastic, even though there may be so many difficulties. So sometimes health may not be good, or challenges in life are there. It's too hot, too cold, but whatever. We have to try to be fixed in chanting the holy names with enthusiasm. And then, so when we do that, then we will get a taste for chanting the holy names. And then it will be easier. Because difficulties are there. But if you chant the holy names and we take shelter of Mahaprabhu, Katanchana smiti asmin duskaram sukkaram bhaved vismite vipaitam chat chaitanyam namamitam. You know this verse? You heard before, yeah. It's a good verse to learn. So, Katanchana smiti yasmin. So, if you remember Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Duskaram sukkaram bhavet. Difficult things become easy. And if you forget Mahaprabhu, then even the small thing becomes a big problem. So therefore, we should chant the holy names. So, of course, for the pleasure of the Lord. Nama Yajna Mahayajna Kali Kalmasanashanam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prityatam Nama Yajna Samarpanam. For the pleasure, Krishna Chaitanya. And then the kalmas, the impurities will go away. The anatas will go away. Patita Pavana Nama Nistaraya Naradhamaha Radha Krishna Sarupaya Chaitanyaya Namo Namaha. Even if we are fallen, and in the Kali Yuga everyone is fallen. So, but if you take shelter of the holy names, Padir Pavana, the Naam, so Krishna Naam is the liver of the fallen. So Hare Krishna Mahamantra is no different from Radha Krishna. But then always Chaitanyaya Namo Namaha, offering obeisances to Mahaprabhu. So he's even more merciful than Krishna, Radha Krishna. He's the combined form of Radha Krishna. And he's easily giving Krishna praying. So we should chant with enthusiasm the holy name. Such practice is true spiritual culture. By chanting Harinam regularly, you will develop unprecedented attachment for Sri Krishna Nam within a short time. And you will directly experience the spiritual realm. Okay, so you got attachment for chanting? You have attachment for chanting? Not yet? Okay, continue chanting. And within a short time, you will directly experience the spiritual realm. Chanting Sri Harinam is the foremost of all the different limbs of bhakti, and it yields the quickest results. And because we are very much conditioned, it takes a little time. And of course, from the point of view of the Badajiva, the conditioned soul being in this material world since many lifetimes, so then if you take up devotional service, it is becoming a short time. And you can see practically also, like 7 years, 8 years ago, where were you? In Meerut, right? Meerut, yeah. And what you were doing? Wasting your time, right? Hanging around, yeah. And now you're chanting 20 rounds every day, worshipping the deities, and right? And having some understanding. So much better, yeah. But then in regards to Shuddh Bhakti, it will take a little more time. And you? Where were you 10 years ago? What you were doing?
Delhi.
In Delhi. Okay, you joined 10 years ago maybe, huh?
2010.
2010, 15 years ago. And before?
Before school life, normal kid.
Normal kid, okay. Yes, and now you're doing better, right? How much was the collection from yesterday?
1.5.
1.5 lakh.
No,
Okay.
1.5. मतलब 1,50,000 plus.
Yeah, 1.5 lakh. Okay, fine. So you're fortunate to be in Braj. Very fortunate. But being here also, then Krishna is showing us also. In the beginning, we think we are doing good. Many times in the beginning, the sudden we think I'm doing great, but after some time, Krishna is showing where we are and where we have to go. So, chanting Sri Harinam is the foremost of all the different limbs of bhakti. This is confirmed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions in Sri Krishnadas Kaviraja's magnificent work. Sri, which work? Which work of Krishnadas Kaviraj? Chaitanya Charitamrita. Okay. Antelila. Bhajane Ramadhya Shrestha Nana Navavida Bhakti Krishna Prema Krishna Dite Dhare Mahashakti Taramadhya Sarva Shrestha Nama Sanketana Niraparada Nama Halaile Paya Prema Dana. Of all the different types of spiritual practice, the 9 forms of bhakti, Shravanam, Kirtanam, and so on, are the best because they have tremendous power to deliver Krishna and Krishna Prem. Of these 9 practices, Nam Sankirtan is the best. By chanting Sri Krishna Nam without offense, one obtains the priceless treasure of Prem. Of course, we have to try to guard against the 10 offenses which are there. First offense? First offense?
To blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives in chanting the holy names of God.
Second offense?
To
Consider the
chanting of
consider the names of the demigods like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma to be equal or independent of the names of Lord Vishnu.
Okay, good. Sometimes it's good too. Third?
Not know the
What?
series.
Huh?
Not know the series like this.
Oh, you don't know?
To disable
You?
To
Third?
disable the
Huh?
to disobey the instruction of Guru.
To disobey the orders of the spiritual master or thinking an ordinary man. Okay, you should know the sequence. Okay, you want to get Brahman initiation, so you should know these things. Fourth?
to consider the chanting of the holy
No, to blaspheme the Vedic literature.
literatures or
Okay,
versions of the
you
Vedic.
should come out one after the other. Fifth?
To consider the chanting of the holy names of the Lord to be unimaginable.
Okay, sixth?
To
To
not to consider the chanting of the holy names to be
No. This is the eighth.
Seventh is to
Sixth, we are the sixth. To give some mundane interpretation of the holy names of the Lord. Seventh,
I just
Oh,
remember in Hindi.
yeah, okay, in Hindi, say in Hindi. Seventh.
नाम
Sixth, what was sixth?
नाम के बल
Okay, seventh.
नाम के
Seventh,
बल पर पाप करना.
English.
To commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy names of the Lord.
Okay, eighth.
To consider chanting of the Hare Krishna mantras as the auspicious ritualistic activity
Mentioned in the current section.
Okay. Ninth in Hindi.
Yes, ninth is कि सारी शास्त्रों की वाणी सुनने के बाद भी मतलब डिजायर
Nine, you the
To
tenth.
instruct a faithless person.
Yes.
Ashwatalu.
Yes, okay. Tenth is not.
To have material attachment despite hearing so many glories on the holy name. It is also referenced to be inattentive while chanting. Anyone who claims to be a Vaishnava must carefully guard against these 10 offenses
In order?
in order to achieve the desired goal, which is Krishna.
Krishna Prem. Okay, good. Yeah. So sometimes we should recite for our benefit, and then we can tell others also. Right? So, and then we may get Krishna Prem. Of course, we can get so different levels of Krishna Prem. So as sadhaka, we can get the beginning. We can come to the beginning stage of Prem, but fully mature Krishna Prem that can be only there when we are liberated from this material existence and when we are entering the pastimes of Krishna, one of the universes. So, but even the beginning stage of Prem, so that is in Bhavavastha, that is Premankur. So the sprouting of Prem, just like when you have some seed, and then it will sprout, it will come. If you have a mango seed, then it is sprouting, and then after it will grow. So Bhavavastha, that is the sprouting of Prem, because Prem is already there in our heart, but it is in seed-like form, it is dormant. But by engaging the devotional service, and when we come to the platform of Prem, then Prem is sprouting. And that is, of course, sufficient to completely destroy the anarthas which have been there. And only actually on this platform bhav. So when prem is sprouting, then the anarthas are destroyed. Nasta priyeshu badeshu nityam bhagavad sevaya. Bhagavadi uttama shloke bhakti bhavadi nashtike. Nasta priyeshu badeshu nityam bhagavad sevaya. Do you heard this slok? You know this slok? Yeah. What is the meaning? Nasta priyeshu badeshu nityam bhagavad sevaya. So by regularly hearing nityam bhagavad sevaya, nityam that can mean always or regularly. That's why every day. So we hear the Bhagavatam. So that is also nitya. Every morning we hear the Bhagavatam. Like nitya kriya, nitya seva. So that is daily. It can mean daily also. So by daily hearing the Bhagavatam, then nashta priyesh abhadreshu, abhadra, that which is inauspicious. Nashta. So that is destroyed. Prayeshu, almost completely. But not completely. Something little will remain. So, on nishta ruchi, so it becomes less and less. Even nishta, one is completely fixed, but some anarthas may be there. But not disturbing the devotee much. And nichaj is even less. And ruchi. And then if you are completely attached to Krishna, detached from this material world, but due to previous impressions, so still something is there in the consciousness. Some impurity is there. Even in bhava vasta, but it is completely insignificant. So therefore is mentioned nashta priyesha vadeshu, almost completely eradicated. The abhadra, that which is inauspicious, the anarthas, some contamination, kalmash. So they become completely pure. Someone has to come to the highest stage of pure devotional service. But even the acharyas have explained sometimes that, so even we realize our swarup, even there sometimes something may be there. And the acharyas have explained. And then, but then when one goes to where Krishna performs his pastimes, then one can become completely freed. And the example has been given by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. When Krishna is playing the flute, and the eternal associates of course are there, and they're coming, joining Krishna for the Ras Leela. But then those who are having slightly some contamination, so they also wanted to join, but they were stopped by the family members. Now you cannot go at night, at dead of night. Out. Why you want to go out? So then they were stopped, they could not join Krishna. But then they were internally crying in separation. And then Yogamaya Purnamasi so gave them, or let them go in their transcendental form. So also it is mentioned actually that a duplicate form was there, because they were realized, and so they took birth in where Krishna performed his pastimes. So that is this, their Vastu Siddhi is there. The body is manifest there. But if some slight manifestation of or contamination is there, so then they were stopped. But then because they were so much eager to join Krishna, then that was eradicated. And they could go, and Purnamasi then manifested a duplicate form of the gopis who stayed at home, and they could go and meet Krishna. So Or to speak of us who are here as sadhakas, so to become completely free, it's taking some time. Completely free from anarthas. So this is very subtle, and in the beginning, so we may not be aware of that. But the more we try to progress, the more we see that still so much contamination is there in the consciousness. Although we may be following the rules and regulations and everything, and we get realizations, but then we can see some contamination may still be there. But we have to continue, and it becomes less and less and less, and more insignificant. But then we have to guard against offenses, otherwise one may fall to a lower level again. Mahatma, if you ask how to recognize a Vaishnava, will tell you that a Vaishnava is someone who has given up all offenses and who chants Krishna Nam with great feeling. So not committing any offenses means attentive chanting, because one of the root, actually sometimes they mention the root cause is inattentive chanting. If you are attentive while chanting, then there will be no offense. But then, as mentioned here, one who chants Krishna Nam with great feeling, some feeling has to be there. So from the heart, one is chanting the holy names with feeling. And then the mind will not go here and there. And that is a Vaishnava. There are three categories of Vaishnavas: Kanishta, neophyte, the Madhyam, intermediate, and the Uttam, most exalted. A Kanishta Vaishnava chants the name of Krishna occasionally. A Madhyam Vaishnava chants the name of Krishna constantly. And an Uttam Vaishnava causes others to chant Sri Nam. So also it is mentioned that further on, later on, that the Kanishta is chanting Aparada Nam, Madhyam is chanting Abhas Nam or Namabhas, and Uttam Vaishnava is chanting Shuddha Nam. According to Mahaprabhu's instructions, we do not need any other criteria to discern who is a Vaishnava. So the Vaishnava is known according to how he's chanting the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sri Nam Prabhu ki. Sannyasi Thakur was deeply immersed in the nectar of Babaji Maharaj's instructions, and he began to dance as he chanted Say Krishna Nam, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. On that day, he experienced ruchi and natural taste for Harinam. So he's on the stage of ruchi. Yeah. Offering prostrated obeisances on the lotus feet of his guru, he prayed, O Prabhu, a friend of the destitute, please bestow your mercy upon this wretched soul. Thus ends the second chapter of Jaiva Dharma, entitled The Nitya Dharma of the Jiva is Pure and Eternal. Any questions? Any questions?
No, but I was just wondering, so Ishq is also prem?
Is love.
Is love.
Ishq is love, yeah. But mostly it is referring to this material world. Even when you say here in this world, only people, they also speak from prem and love. But it is material, right? Yeah, so
And so by Ruh, they mean like the soul, as in like.
Yeah, but as mentioned also, the embodied soul. So usually, and even we can see, even as devotees, I mean, you know your spirit soul, right?
Yeah.
Right? So you're on that platform. So still the Atma Buddhi is there. Still one is identifying with his body. I'm this, I'm that. And you can see practically. And so who is advanced and who is still on the bodily platform. So false ego is there, material intelligence, material mind. So mostly, so that refers to the embodied being, but some understanding, some knowledge is there, but it is not realized. So that is the point he's making with Ru. Because as explained, so because actually they don't have the complete understanding of the Supreme Lord, of Krishna or Ram, and therefore so their love is not pure, this ishq or this Ru, and their understanding is not beyond this material existence. So they have some knowledge Allah is God, but they don't have a complete understanding. And therefore the love is also not complete and not pure, and their understanding of the self is not complete and pure. It is not possible. Also the Christians, they have some knowledge, but they have vague knowledge. They think of God. He's the oldest person. So therefore even sometimes you see pictures of God amongst the Christians with beard and not too long hair, but beard and grey hair. But so that is not the proper knowledge. So therefore, then their devotional service is external, is on the bodily platform. The understanding is not so advanced. It's on the bodily platform. Some knowledge is there, but it is not realized. So they have theoretical understanding, but not realized. So only if one is engaging in Vaishnava Dharma, Nitya Dharma, Vastav Dharma, then one can have, so of course under proper guidance, then one can have the proper understanding. And then one can progress and have practical realization of the Lord and oneself and one's relationship. And then one can experience pure emotions and love. So that is only possible in Vaishnava Dharma, in Sanatana Dharma. Otherwise it is not possible. So therefore here, so Nitya Dharma is explained, and the next chapter, so Naimittika Dharma will be explained, and how it has to be given up. So today is a very auspicious day. Radharaman appearance. What a pastime. So today also we had Nokha Bihar for our deities in the temple, so in Goshala. And appearance day of Madhavendra Puri and Srinivasacharya. and disappearance of Parameshwar Das, so auspicious day, and also appearance of Buddha, and also the appearance of our dear devotee, Achu Krishna, according to Titi. So you're blessed. Anything else? So you had a good day?
Yes, sir.
Okay, nice. Any question? Hare Krishna.
Cross. Left.